Hey everybody, Jack Rabbit here. In today's video, I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk about some Sparrows items. This is going to be the Sparrows Cutaway Lock, reload kit, and the core trainer. The reason I'm going to talk about these today, even though I've had these now for several years, is because I'm going to be loaning these out to a friend of mine, and I wanted to record a video to talk about the lock, and how all of these things work together, because as somebody who's new to the area of lockpicking, it might be a little bit confusing getting all of this at once. So we'll start by talking about the Cutaway lock. This is the right-handed Cutaway. I assume this is still what Sparrows is selling, but like I said, this is a couple years old now at this point. But it's a very nice, it's a nice lock. It comes with the single key, and the benefit here, these are all standard pins. The benefit is you can see when you're trying to learn how to pick, you can kind of see what's going on inside the lock. So I'll try to show really quick what this looks like. And this is kind of an odd angle, but you should be able to see it. So you can see where when my pick's in here, you can see the pins rising as I touch them. And what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for a pin that binds. And in this case, I can already tell it's pin 5. You can see I'm lifting all the other pins kind of as I do it. So that resulted in an overset. So you can see right here, pin 2 is a little bit above the shear line. So what I need to do is drop tension a little bit. And hopefully that'll make that, now because I'm holding it sideways, it might not, but yeah, and I ended up dropping pin 5. So the goal is to get that in place, and then I suppose we can leave it for now, but let's see if we can find out the next binder. And I think actually 2 is the next binder, so there we go. So now I dropped it, and so you see that's at the shear line now. So now we just need to clean up what else we're looking for here. And it looks like pin 5 is binding for me now. And you should see there's a good click. And now it looks like, looking at this in this window, you can see pin 1 is the only one that doesn't appear to be aligned at the shear line. So should be able to just touch pin 1. And oh, it looks like maybe I need to nudge pin 5. Yep, so pin 5 was just slightly off. So once I nudge that, we have hit the shear line and the lock is open. So that's how you pick the standard pin Cutaway lock. So now once you've mastered this, the nice thing is you can come in here, and this is the, let me set the focus back to auto. This is the reload kit. So the reload kit is going to come with a lot of options. So what we'll do first is I'll take all of this out, and I'll bring out a pinning tray, because when you're using this, you'll be needing to use the pinning tray. So what you're going to do here now is we've got several different bags. We've got a bag full of pins. So this has got standards, it's got spools, it's got serrateds. And let me pull a couple of those out just so you can kind of see what they look like. So let's see, I'll grab this one. So this right here, see if I can get the focus in. This might be hard. There we go. This is a serrated pin. And then, let me see if I can grab a spool out of here just to show what it looks like. All right, and here is one of the spools. And so I'll show you momentarily how to put those into the lock. But that's one of the things that's here is a whole bunch of pins. We have some different springs of different varieties. And then we have 4 different keys. Or is it 5? So we've got some, oh, and these are some spare pins to hold the back plate in if you lose one of them. So we'll include those into there as well. So there are 4 keys. And let's see. Sparrows describes these as, the red one is the low, high, low pinning. The green key is high, low, high pinning. Black is to make it a 6-pin lock. This is even though you can only see 5 pins here, they do have a slot for a 6th pin back there. So that's what you would use that for. And then blue is, they call it big raker, high to low. So this should be pretty easy to, yeah, it should be pretty easy to rake. You can see the key starts out with, in the back of the lock, they're going to be high, and then they gradually get lower cuts. So pretty easy to rake with the blue one. All right, so to put those in, so we'll to handle any of this, the first thing you got to do is let's take the key out, and then the way it came with this follower, and this follower is special in the sense that it helps you take the back plate off. So basically, you line this up, and then you push in, and then you should be able to just spin the back plate off. Because what it's doing is it's pushing this piece in. Pull it out here, and what this does is when this lines up, it holds the back plate from moving. So, but there's a spring in here as well. So when you do take this out to switch things out, just make sure you remove that and then dump the spring so you don't lose the spring. And I'll just kind of drop those in there for now. Okay, so next thing you do is normally, and maybe I'll throw some shims in there, and I'll show you how they work, but you probably wouldn't need them for this lock, but I will include a shim when I send this over. And what you would do with that is the shim just goes right here in between the key pins and the driver pins. That way, when you're pushing out the core, these pins don't come falling out. In this lock, like I said, it wouldn't matter that much, especially as long as you make sure that this piece right here is lining up with those top of those pins. But if you've got a shim in there, it's a little less dangerous. So with that, you can pull out the core, and now you see the key pins here. So we can set that down. And then we will, say, take the shim out. And I'm going to set the core aside, or the body aside for now. And let's say you wanted to switch, we'll say we want to do the green key. So what you're going to do is we're just going to, for now, I'm going to dump all these key pins here. You would probably go one at a time so you remember where they are, but it doesn't really matter all that much in this case. And let me pull out the other pinning tray here. And so what you're going to want to do is take the key out, and then make sure you keep all the pins with it. And so this key is set up for these key pins. So you just want to, you can do this ahead of time, or you can throw it in the lock, whatever you want to do. But basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to make these key pins flush. So that one goes there. That's close. I think these are in the wrong order. So if I were to guess, just by quickly looking, I think that would be the right alignment. But you'll find out when you put the key in and we start dropping those pins in. So if the key's all the way in, you can take the pin that you think is pin 1 and drop it in to the core. And that is not the right pin, because if it's the right pin, it should be flush. So we're gonna dump that out. Let's try the next tallest. There we go. So that line's flush with the core. That's how you know you've got the right pin. And I'm just gonna have fun and go wild here and just start trying to find the ones that are flush. Okay, so there we go. let's see, that one's flush as well. So now it's just kind of a guessing game as to see. And the one thing when you're putting the key pins in, you want to make sure that the key pin itself has a, see if I can set the core down. The key pin itself has kind of a rounded edge. I don't know how well you can see that there, but there we go. It's rounded. The rounded part goes towards the key. That's the important part, because you want this to be line up flat in the body. All right, so there you go. So now this is keyed to the green key. And if you were just going to do that, what you do then is reverse this and push this back in. But let's say you wanted to, let's pull the key out slowly. Let's say you wanted to change out the pins in here to put in a security pin. This would just be your standard gutting process with this lock. So what you'll do with this lock in particular, turn this a little bit, and then you're going to be slowly pushing the, let me set focus here, slowly pushing the follower out until the pin pops out. And then you can take that pin out, and if you were to, you could do this the whole way through the lock, and you'd take in, grab some security pins out of this bag, however you want to do it, and you'd pop them in there, and you would basically just put them back, push down on them, and then as you're pushing the follower back in, and that would be how you replace all those pins. So I didn't go through the whole process. If anybody has any questions that's watching this, leave them in the comments. I will try to help answer it, but I don't want to go through the whole process of gutting this. So finally, we'll set that aside. The other piece here that I'm going to send over is the third item from Sparrows. And this is if you want to try out different cores. So these are all different cores. They're all keyed already for you. All of these, the rekeying kit would work in any of these. Maybe they won't work in these cores. No, because they're different keyways. So these you will be stuck just practicing keyways. Let me pull one out of here. So what you'll notice is the keyway is just different than the one that was already in there. So this is a way to learn new keyways. Like I said, you won't be able to use the different colored keys on these ones because these are keyed specifically to these keys, and these will not fit this core. But basically what you would do then is you would take this keyway or this core and you would slide it in just like you would with the other lock. So I'm going to pop this back together. And those will have a different feel as you're picking them. You'll have to move your pick around to get them to fit a little differently. So let me go through the process of putting this back into the original key order. I'm kind of kicking myself for not keeping these in order when I put it together, but learn from my mistakes. All right, so we got a flush there, and we are flush there, flush. These ones might be in order. Flush and flush. All right, and then when you are ready to put the lock back in, you can use that shim, which I set aside somewhere in here. There we go. If you want to be extra careful, you can use the shim. You basically slide it back into where it was between the pins and the follower, and then you just kind of offset the core and you slide it in, and that took the follower with it. So now the one thing I like to do before I start screwing this back plate on is to get the key out. That way you know everything's going to stay in the right position. It's not going to go falling out of the lock now. And then we just do the reverse order of what we did. We're just going to take the spring, put the spring back in here. All right, the spring is in, and then we're going to take the this other piece, and you leave the tapered edge towards the top. And then you end up taking the back plate and the follower. You put the back plate there, and you will push down and you will start screwing this in. And then you can screw it all the way and then maybe unscrew it just a little bit, because otherwise this won't sit right. But now it's back in there. You'll see the key works and you can get back to picking. And the same thing if you were to put this key in, you key it up, put the core in, and you'll be able to pick with this new arrangement. So that, in a nutshell, is what you get if you get the Cutaway, the core trainer, and the rekeying kit with the Sparrows on the Sparrows website. If anybody have any questions, please pop them in the comments. Otherwise, if you like the video, please hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys at the next one.